I am the zero hero. And tomorrow I'll be the week zero hero. Hey, Mad Tea Sipper, just tell them you have the Rona. They can't fire you. Tell them you have that new variant. Of course, Wilkie, yes. I'm doing 2 games tomorrow. I'm going to get into that at the top of the show because there's some new developments in the PigskinPeete streaming deal. Nightbot beat me to it. Yeah, joiners are still in. Like I said, I'll explain it in a minute. What's up, Nate? We were just joking about, you know, some sort of, I don't know, virus or sickness going around, but it really is. Nate was sick, what was that, last week? Mrs. Peete was sick all this week. She's just now getting over it. Something going around. You know what it is? All the kids go back to school and then they bring all that shit home. That's what it is. These kids are like little petri dishes with legs. Am I going to discuss Brett Yormark's bitch-made comment in Lubbock yesterday? If I knew what it was, I will. I guess I'll have to look it up. Let's get the show started. Have to relearn how to use my computer. I updated everything. I spent Well, anyway, you guys don't care about that. But I have to relearn how to use everything now. We're going to get rid of that. We don't need that anymore. We don't need that. What's up, everybody? Happy Friday. And also, happy college football season eve. The next best thing to Christmas Eve, well, especially for a person like me, and if you're here, probably you too. Anyway, welcome to the Midday Show. I am your humble host, PigskinPeete. It's good to see all of you again. Obviously, I wasn't here on Monday or Wednesday to do the Midday Show, so it's good to be back. We'll get right into it here. So the morning announcements before we get to the news. The news today is not, I'm not going to go through and do the regular news segment. Now that we have football, I'm gonna see if there's any sports news, college football news, or anything like that, and we'll read that. And then I'll open up the StreamYard and bring all of you on. Or anybody who wants to come on can come on. But yeah, the morning announcements. So you can see in there in the chat and in the title of the video that I went ahead and launched a Patreon page. Actually, I didn't launch a Patreon page because I already had one. I used to have a Patreon members several years ago, and I actually had a good amount of people on there, and I shut it down because I started to feel bad that I wasn't offering the Patreon members enough. Well, I wasn't offering them anything really other than just wanting to support the show, and a lot of people were nice and wanted to support the show and joined it, but I wasn't doing anything for them. So I felt bad about that, and I pretty much shut it down. So, but I relaunched it. I've had a lot of people ask me about a Patreon. Of course, I have the channel memberships that a lot of you are members, and I appreciate you. And last season, I sort of dove into the private streams every week for the members only, and I'm going to continue to do that this year. The only thing I'm doing with the Patreon is I'm adding them to that mix. Now, I will be honest with you. If you're going to do one or the other, I would prefer that you join the Patreon because they take less money than YouTube does. All right. Now, look, here's the way this is going to work. I don't want it to be confusing for anybody. It doesn't matter if you're a channel member or a Patreon member. Everybody gets access to the members-only streams. Now there'll be members-only / Patreon streams. And what I'll do on game day, whenever it comes time to do a private stream, I'll post the link. Well, first of all, if you're a channel member, you should get a notification whenever I go live. But you know how YouTube is. You never can guarantee that that's going to happen. We had a little issue with that last year. But what I do is if you don't get the notification, I'll let you know what time the game is coming on that I'm doing. And I can post 2 members only in the community section of my page, and I post a link to the stream in there. So even if you don't get a notification, you should just be able to get a community post and click the link, and you'll be right into the stream. And then I can just copy and paste that link into the Patreon page. So if somebody's a Patreon member but not a channel member, they have to go to the Patreon page to get the link. And if somebody's a channel member but not a Patreon member, then just go to the community page and click that link. It's very easy. So there you go with that. The only difference between the Patreon and the channel members, well, there is a price difference. The Patreon, well, what is the memberships for the YouTube channel are very, very low. $2.99, $3.99, and $4.99, I think. So $5 is the highest tier. On Patreon, it's different. The lowest tier is $5. I think the second tier is $10, and the high tier is $20. The only people that will get a chance to win any merchandise that I'm going to be giving away throughout the year are the $5 members on YouTube and all of the members on Patreon. So that's really the only difference. The only difference there, because these shirts, some of these shirts and hoodies are upwards of $30 and more. So that's that. And I want to encourage people to join the Patreon page too. Anyway, so that's that. Starting tomorrow, we've got the Navy and Notre Dame game. I believe it's either at 2 or 2:30. Anyway, I'll be doing that publicly here on YouTube. And I will start the stream probably 15 to 20 minutes. That's pretty standard for me. 15 to 20 minutes before kickoff. And then for the members or Patreon members, tomorrow night, we'll look at a couple of the evening games. It's at Hawaii and Vanderbilt. And I believe that the Southern Cal and San Jose State game is on at the same time as that one. The problem is what is that being broadcast on? I don't know if I have that. What is it? Is it some kind of streaming thing? I'll look into it. But it doesn't matter. There's several games on at night. We'll watch 2 of them because I've got 2 TVs in here. But the main one we're going to be watching is Hawaii and Vanderbilt for the members. So that's going to be fun. Then next week, I'm doing I think 6 streams between, there's games 5 days in a row next week. You got Thursday games, Friday games, Saturday games, Sunday games, and of course Monday night, Clemson and Duke. So 5 days in a row. I'll be streaming Thursday night. Thursday at noon. Sorry, the Thursday noon games. What is this here? No, Thursday 8 o'clock. I can't even read my own handwriting. Thursday 8 o'clock. The noon games on Saturday. So no game streams on Friday, but I will have both the midday show and the college football call-in show. So I'll be doing 2 streams on Friday next week, just not game streams. And then Monday, Clemson and Duke is public. The members next week get the 7:30 slot on Saturday. So to break it down for you, 1 game on Thursday, 2 games on Saturday, and 1 game on Monday. So I think the only game that's really good on Sunday anyway is Florida State and LSU, and that's a good one. But I won't be streaming on Sunday. I had to promise my wife that I would leave one day on the weekend to spend with her and the kids, and not be on YouTube for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So there you have it. That's that. Looking forward to it. You guys looking forward to it? Let's see who's in here. Pete, do you want to bet money that Navy upsets Notre Dame tomorrow? I mean, what do you want? I guess you want to bet me? I've got so many bets out right now. It's getting out of hand, but that is a very enticing one. Because I don't think that's happening. So you'll bet me. How much do you want to bet? I don't want to do a lot. You want to do like $20? I'll do $20 if you want to do $20. But the 15, whatever, 15, 20, whatever you want to do, absolutely. But here's what you have to do, Chantastic. You have to just send me a PayPal and send me the $15 in the PayPal, and just attach a note that says, "This is Chantastic. Bet I'm betting Navy to upset Notre Dame, or Navy Notre Dame game, or whatever." So I know it's you. And of course, if you win, I'll just send you back double what you sent me. Cash App's fine too. Yeah, either one. Both of my Cash App and my PayPal link are in the description of the live stream here. That's fine. I'll do it. But I'm curious to know why you're so confident that Navy's going to upset Notre Dame. Because you're the only person I've ever, not only the only, but the first and the only person that I've heard say that. Shout out to Nature Boy, gifted a membership. Who got it? Battle Angel got it. Wow. Welcome to the club. It's a very exclusive club. The join members. What's up? Jay Shipes is here. Got to see him this week. Unfortunately, he had to bounce out the same day he got there. But I understand why. He had a family medical emergency of sorts. So anyway, it was good to see him and hang out with him, even if it was only for a day. It's always good to see Jay. Jay's good people. Matt Dummett's here. Zona Tucson 93. Brad Pitt. Goose Sports. Bulldog Brian. Jeremy Garrettson. The Mad Tea Sipper. Stingray. Colby. By the way, Colby's going to Vegas with us, I think. Yeah, it's official. I booked my room yesterday, January the 22nd through the 26th, at the Flamingo, Las Vegas, Nevada. So yeah, I got my room. Now I just have to get a plane ticket. Slim Shady Canes. The Real Big Lee, Wilkie, Nate the Great, Joey Foster, Joey. Yeah, Joey. By the way, speaking of I'm giving away this merch for the Patreon members and the high tier channel members. I need to go ahead and make that order. I'm gonna do that. I'm probably gonna do I gotta put together a list. I'll make that order by Monday. That way I should have it by the end of next week. VicTube, D. Taylor, Battle Angel, Ghost Striker Cade, Chance-tastic Savage Dog, Slim Shady Canes, gifted a membership. He gifted a what was it? 5 PigskinPeete memberships. Holy hell. Wow, Slim. Let's see who the lucky recipients were. Arizona Tucson 93, Joey Foster, Nate the Great, Brad Pitt, and Joe's Bazooka are all now join members, which means they all have access to the members-only game streams. I think the gifted memberships, I think, last 30 days. And then if you want to continue it, you have to pay for it after that. But shout out to Slim. That was very nice of you. Very nice of you. Nature Boy, Hufferbilly Paw. Oh, did I get some rest? Not really. Well, actually, yeah. Well, no. I'm still in I'm still in deficit as far as sleep goes this week. I'm getting too old for that shit. I don't know whose idea it was to stay up till 8 o'clock in the morning on Monday night, but whoever's fault it was, I blame them. But I'm okay. I'm dragging a little bit, but I'm okay. What was I about to say? Hufferbilly. Yeah. Hufferbilly said that you texted me and said that you had an issue with booking a room at the Flamingo for Vegas, that they were trying to charge you. I think you're a platinum member, if I'm not mistaken, with your Caesars rewards. I'm not even a platinum member yet. I'm almost there, but I'm a gold member. And I got a free room for 5 nights. I don't know what's going wrong with you trying to get a room for free. You should be getting a room for free. Now, you'll still have to pay taxes and resort fee. So I think for me, it came out to $180 for 4 nights total. But that was zero room cost, and it was just taxes and resort fee. So I don't know what the issue is. I think you're doing it wrong, because the app is weird. You know what? I'll get with you off of the air because nobody cares about this. The app is weird. If you navigate the app a certain way, it won't offer you the free rooms. you have to do it a different way, because the same thing happened to me, and I just did it a different way, and it came up comped rooms. So anyway, you should be getting a free room. That's what I'm getting at here. There's no reason you shouldn't. All right. Well, there should be some college football news, and I don't know what was going on a minute ago. What's up, Sports Talk 101? I think it was the Mad Tea Sipper a couple of minutes ago was saying that I hear something about something somebody said in Lubbock. Maybe I can search that. I don't know what he's talking about.
Breaking news from the PigskinPeete YouTube channel.
What's up, Broski Bear? Good to see you in here, sir. Yeah, who was it that said that? D. Taylor says there should be a lot of free rooms in January. Well, no, because the exact week we're going is the exact week of SHOT Show. So there is a big event going on in Vegas that week. Now, I think in general, yeah, the other 3 weeks of January, probably not so much, but SHOT Show's going on. I'm going to try to go to it too. But I didn't realize until last week when we looked up the prices, I didn't realize it was that expensive to go to it. You know, I was thinking like maybe $100, but if it costs more than that, I don't know if I'm going to go to it. Although I really do want to go. You know, I mean, if that was the reason I was going to Vegas, I certainly would go, but that's not the reason I'm going. It just happens to be the same week that we are going. So I was like, well, if it's going on, I'll spend an afternoon over there, you know. But anyway, where was I at here? Oh, yeah, sports. No depressing news today. Well, I don't know, but sports could be depressing. Depends on how you look at it, you know. I did see this clip. This is NFL related. This is not college related. But I did see that. Did you guys see that clip? You guys know who Ryan Clark is, right? The former NFL player who's been on, I think he's on ESPN for years now, the analyst or whatever you want to call him. I don't know whether he was questioning Tua's weight. I guess, so here's the thing. I guess Tua, people are making fun of Tua, saying he's fat Tua now. When I looked at him, he doesn't look fat to me. I don't know. It looks like he bulked up a little bit, like he's been hitting the gym, you know. Probably in an effort to limit the amount of injuries, you know, with all the hits that he takes. We know he's got a history of injury. Anyway, I don't know exactly what Ryan Clark said. I didn't watch the clip, but I guess somebody asked Tua about it at a press conference or something the other day after practice. And Tua basically said, look, you know, my heritage, we're raised to be respectful, and I try to be respectful to anybody. But Ryan Clark, keep my name out of your mouth. Basically told him to shut the F up. You know, which even when Tua seems like he's mad, it still isn't very intimidating. He's like too nice. You know? You guys know what I'm talking about? Chunky pineapple. All right, let's see if we got some college football news here. Well, since I just made a $15 bet with Chance-tastic, which I feel very good about, because we didn't do points. He claims that he thinks that Navy is going to upset Notre Dame. So the only way he can win his bet is if Navy wins the game. Right? So let's see what the preview here is, if it's any good or not. What's the storyline? I know one of the storylines is that Navy is going to be running, or they have a 2-quarterback system. They also have a new coach, right? They fired their longtime head coach after last season. They got a new coach, and they've got a 2-quarterback system. Now, I'll be honest with you. I haven't looked into Navy too much in the off season. I'm assuming they're still going to be running the triple option like they always have. I'm assuming that. Though the real fun begins next week with week 1, there are 7 FBS versus FBS games on the schedule for Saturday and what's commonly now referred to as week 0, which is a stupid name, but that's neither here nor there. The headliner is a game in Ireland between number 13 Notre Dame and, of course, Navy. Also in action is number 6 Southern Cal. The reigning Heisman Trophy winner, Caleb Williams, and the Trojans host San Jose State. Let's see here. Does he give any information about what? Yeah, the Pac-12 network. I was afraid of that. No wonder they're leaving the Pac-12. I don't blame them. I'm also jealous, too. Notre Dame is entering its second season with Marcus Freeman as head coach. The first season under Freeman, who replaced Brian Kelly, was up and down. It featured ugly losses to Marshall and Stanford, but there was also a dominant victory over Clemson and an exciting win over South Carolina in the bowl. Entering 2023, the Irish are expected to have much improved quarterback play thanks to the addition of Wake Forest transfer Sam Hartman. Hartman enters his final season of college football, having already thrown for nearly 13,000 yards and 110 touchdowns. However, the Irish lost star tight end Michael Mayer to the NFL and offensive coordinator Tommy Rees to Alabama. Is that a bad thing, though? Well, if you ask the Irish fans, they'll tell you no, losing Tommy Rees was not a bad thing. I think they were ready for him to leave anyway. Most of them seemed happy when he left. It's a new era at Navy following the firing of longtime coach Ken Niumatalolo. I just probably butchered that name. And the promotion of Brian Newberry. Newberry spent the previous 4 seasons as Navy's defensive coordinator, and the majority of the defensive starters from last fall returned. So, okay, that's good news for the defense. Most of their starters return. And since this guy's been coaching at Navy for the past 4 seasons, I don't think you're going to see much of a difference in the offense either. Well, this says the offense could look a bit different with Grant Chestnut from Kennesaw State in place as offensive coordinator. It will still be an option attack, but don't be surprised if the midshipmen call a few more passing plays than we are used to seeing. That's probably good news if you're a Navy, fan, which I am, by the way. My dad went to school there. My dad is a Navy grad. But the issue is you need to have a quarterback who can pass the ball for that to be effective. So I'm assuming instead of throwing the ball twice a game, they're going to throw it 5 times. Or 6 times. Instead of 2 times, 6 times. 300% increase. Southern Cal made a massive jump in its first season under Lincoln Riley, going from 4-8 in 2021 to 11-3 in 2022. Riley brought Caleb Williams with him from Oklahoma, and the quarterback turned an incredible season en route to a Heisman Trophy. With Williams back, the Trojans should have one of the best offenses in the country yet again. I think we all know that. The question is not the offense. The other question is, sticking with the offense before I get to the defense here, what's their backup quarterback situation like? Who's next on the totem pole there if something, God forbid, happens to Williams? I hope nothing happens to Williams. I love watching him play. He's one of the most exciting players in football. But who's next in line? But for Southern Cal to win the Pac-12 and get to the college football playoff, there needs to be a significant improvement on defense. Riley hit the portal hard in an effort to upgrade the defense, And transfers like defensive end Anthony Lucas from Texas A&M, defensive tackle Bear Alexander from Georgia, linebacker Mason Cobb from Oklahoma State, and cornerback Christian Roland Wallace from Arizona should all be instant impact players. Well, they better hope that they are. They need something happening instantaneously on defense. San Jose State, on the other hand, meanwhile, got back to a bowl game last year after winning the Mountain West in 2020. They returned quarterback Chevan Cordero, the Mountain West's preseason Offensive Player of the Year, as well as 5 offensive line starters and running back Kyrie Robinson. So I'm pretty sure when I did the Carolina jackpot / Rob Pick'em thing this week, I think I almost picked everybody to cover, actually. I might have picked one team not to cover, but I did pick Southern Cal to cover. Ohio and San Diego State got no interest in it. I just don't. I have an interest in San Diego State. I ain't got no interest in Ohio. So there we go. Oh, here we go. Hawaii and Vanderbilt. I'll be doing that game for the members tomorrow night. 7:30 on the SEC Network. Vanderbilt has taken major strides under Clark Lee, going from 2-10 in 2021 to 5-7 in 2022. I'm still pissed right now that I forgot to make that bet. This is why you should not procrastinate. I was like, you know what? I'll just make it, right before I check out. It'll be fine. I'll go down after I check out. I'll cash in my chips, get cash, take that cash over to the sports book, and make a bet on Vanderbilt. Well, I did all of that except I forgot to go over to the sports book and make the bet on Vanderbilt. I didn't realize that I forgot until I was halfway home. Then I was big mad. But anyway, where was I? The goal for the Commodores this season is a bowl game, and they need to take care of business in their non-conference games to make that happen. Hawaii went 3-10 last year, but was quietly much more competitive late in the season. Vanderbilt should not have much trouble, but the Rainbow Warriors offense can be tricky to defend. Is that what they call them? I feel like that's my first time ever hearing that name. Rainbow Warriors. Plus, a certain group of people have stolen the rainbow from everybody else. We can't use it now, but they're using it. So good on them. I'm just going to keep going down here. This is the whole thing about Georgia. Backfield by committee. Kenny McIntosh is off to the NFL, but the Bulldogs bring back Dejon Edwards and Kendall Milton in the backfield. They should each surpass 100 carries in 2023. What just happened to my thing? I don't know. Where's that? Oh, Edwards has 769 yards and 7 rushing touchdowns a season ago, while Milton averaged 7 yards a carry on 85 rushes and scored 8 touchdowns. Why do I keep hearing from people that Georgia's got issues at running back? I mean, I'm not an expert on Georgia's roster or anything, but I know both of those names. Dejon Edwards and Kendall Milton are pretty good players. I don't know what's going on. Is there something I'm missing? I'm being serious. I don't know. Is this why? Here, maybe this is why. The Bulldogs have relied on more than 2 rushers a season in recent years. However, it's unclear who the number 3 back will be entering the season. Branson Robinson, 68 carries for 330 yards, is out for the season after suffering a knee. Okay, so that's why. Maybe that's where it's coming from. Their number 3 guy or wherever he was on the depth chart is out for the season. Maybe that's what people are talking about. According to the chat, yeah, that's why. Yeah, reloading on defense again. I'm not going to even read that part. I think that's a given. Of course, I have a bet with Uncle Lou. Well, we have 2 bets, but as far as Georgia goes, we have a bet. He bet me, I think it was $25 last week, that Georgia is going 12-0 in the regular season. Now, he didn't say 15-0 and winning a title, we bet on the regular season, 12-0. And I bet that they would lose at least 1 game. And, of course, when I say that, people go, well, what game is it going to be? And I go, I don't know, one of the teams they play. I'm not saying it's going to be any certain team. I'm just saying it's going to be somebody. This would be a good candidate right here. Tennessee. At Tennessee. And I've got a question here. Why does this say number 18? Oh, November 8th. Okay, never mind. I can't read. I thought it said number 18, Tennessee. November 18th at Tennessee. I was about to say, when did they fall from 12 to 18? Well, they'd be big mad if that happened, wouldn't they? And look, to be fair, the over-under, according to this anyway, according to Yahoo, is over or under 11.5 wins. I have the under. Lou has the over. There you go. Now, this isn't football related, but the title here has caught my eye for sure. Golf cart crash delays World Championships 200-meter semifinal race. Leaves runner with blurry vision. What the? Aerial footage shows the cart rolling down a sidewalk outside of the stadium as an oncoming cart T-bones Lyles, Hudson, and the rest of their group. Was a rogue golf cart with no driver? Oh, there's a video of it. Let's see. What? How did that happen? Can I replay that? Yeah, here we go. It does look like somebody's driving it. What was that? What was my man doing? Somebody give this man a breathalyzer. What are you doing, man? God. Southern Cal versus San Jose State preview. Lincoln Riley's good players are ready to go. What about the bad ones? The bad ones aren't ready to go? All eyes were fixed on the head coach, but Lincoln Riley kept his eyes on the field while identifying the key difference between Southern Cal's program a year ago and now, days before his second season with the Trojans. Quote, more good players, Riley said. Less bad players. Well, that's good. He didn't say no bad players, though. You notice that? He said less bad players. And now if you're one of the players, you got to be sitting there going, well, I wonder if he thinks I'm one of the good ones or one of the bad ones. This is nothing to say about just more coach speak from Alex Grinch, the defensive coordinator. You have to go do it on Saturday. Doesn't matter what you say, you got to go do it on Saturday. Caleb Williams is Riley's third Heisman-winning quarterback, but the first to return for an encore campaign under the coach. Although the junior reached the pinnacle of individual success, set numerous school records, and has become the face of college football, Riley insists Williams is not done rising. There is 15 more levels he can get at. Now, no. Stop it. No. Listen, I believe he's the best. Well, he's definitely the best quarterback in college football, if not the best player. You could probably make a case for Marvin Harrison Jr. At Ohio State, but, that's apples to oranges. But he's not getting 15 levels higher. Just stop it with that. Stop it. When Southern Cal releases the first official depth chart on Wednesday night, freshman Alani Noah and Wyoming transfer Emmanuel Pregnon were still listed as co-starters for Saturday's season opener. Noah, 6'4", 325-pounder, former three-star prospect, has been one of our best offensive linemen. So they're going to have some inexperience, I guess, on the offensive line. They're starting a true freshman. Their offensive line last year was pretty good. Look, Lincoln Riley's offenses are strong at every level. Oh no, I mean they have a good offensive line. Typically, they always have a couple of good running backs. They always have elite receivers, and has a history of having the top of the food chain quarterback play. So. Kevin Hart attempts to race former NFL running back Stavon, I don't know how you pronounce that, Ridley, and ends up in a wheelchair. What the? Is this real? Yeah, it is. We do blow his knee out? What is he doing? Comedian Kevin Hart says that he's the dumbest man alive. At least he's got a sense of humor about it. Comedian Kevin Hart, who is 5'2". God, I knew he was short, but I didn't know he's a 5'2". God. Challenged former NFL running back Stavon Ridley to a foot race. It didn't go according to plan, and now he won't be walking for a while. Hart conducted his own post-race media conference via Instagram after the loss Wednesday, recounting his perspective of events to his 178 million followers. Good God. Anytime someone starts off by saying, "Welp, it's bad," he said. He began and ended his address with the phrase, "So the situation is definitely not good." He added a disclaimer that fans should not be alarmed when they see him out in public because he'll be in a wheelchair. Since he's in a wheelchair, I wonder if Kevin Hart would be willing to do a wheelchair race. It'd be Kevin Hart, BVD, and VicTube. For charity. After the Slob Olympics in Pigeon Forge last year, not 2022, I was almost in a wheelchair. So I'm not going to laugh at somebody's ability to run or not run. That would be the pot calling the kettle black. So I wonder what his injury is. I'm not going to play the video of him, but this is what he says on Instagram. 44 and sitting my ass down. I got to be the dumbest man alive. What the F am I doing? Yep. I know the feeling. Baseball news, just don't care. The 49ers have been shopping Trey Lance since the draft. But then John Lynch says that's not accurate. So I don't know. Honestly, I just don't care either. What is this? The AAC ramp up courtship of Oregon State and Washington State with college landscape still shifting. What? Why would Oregon State or Washington State want to be demoted to the group of five? Why would they do that? They wouldn't, would they? The Mountain West and the American Athletic Conference are revving up their expansion engines. Commissioners of those leagues, Gloria Nevarez and Mike Oresco, will deliver expansion presentations in the coming days to officials from Washington State and Oregon State. The first serious step in two conferences' courtship of the Pac-12's remnants. The Mountain West and the AAC pursuit of the Cougars and the Beavers is accelerating as the ACC discussions with Stanford and Cal intensify. Left homeless when the Pac-12 broke apart earlier this month, Oregon State and Washington State now find themselves in the midst of a conference tussle for their services. The latest two dominoes in the most significant realignment wave in the industry's history. Oh, wow. You know it's sad when a potential group of five conference can get a better TV deal than the Pac-12 was able to get this year. Well, there won't be a conference left to fire somebody, but have they even fired that commissioner yet? The ACC's decision will impact the future of the existence of the Pac-12. Without Stanford and Cal, Oregon State and Washington State have limited options. The thought of rebuilding the conference, already a high hurdle, is made even more difficult without a brand like Stanford. It leaves the two schools drifting afloat without a home or a television contract beyond this coming June. While residing in remote, small markets, the two programs are attractive. For one, they bring Power 5 resources, potentially additional value in future television deals. Yeah, it's good for it. Yeah. Well, the debate is not whether it's good for the AAC or the Mountain West. The debate is whether it's good for Oregon State or Washington State, and I'm going to have to go ahead and say no on that. You know, no one ever celebrates getting a demotion at work, do they? You know, nobody comes home and say, "Hey, honey, you're never going to believe what happened today. Break out the champagne." "Oh, what happened?" "I got demoted." I got demoted. Let's go out for a steak dinner. Well, yeah, that would be weird. College football catch-up. How the sport has changed ahead of the 2023 season. Let's see if this is worth reading. If not, I'm about to get to the StreamYard here in a couple of minutes. So anybody who wants to hop on there can go ahead and do so if you haven't already. I'll be with you in just a second. The 2023 college football season is less than a month away. First real games of 2023 season begin in less than 4 weeks when Notre Dame takes on, what was this, a 4-week-old article? This is not relevant anymore. Listen, we live in the digital age of 24-hour news cycles. Why is this still on here? It's a month old. Well, this is relevant still. The clock will keep running after the majority of the first downs and games this season. The clock has stopped. I'm interested to see because there's been a lot of debate about this. How much is it going to actually shorten a game? Because the past few seasons, and it's not really a debate. It's a fact. The commercial breaks are more frequent and longer than they ever have been. And the reason is because the money, obviously, and they have to be able to pay out these conferences all the money that they're contracted to pay them out, right? And I don't know if anybody noticed, but just like the coaching salaries go up through the roof every year. Every single year, there's the newest, biggest contract for a head coach ever signed in history, and that trend is going to continue. Every new TV deal, if you're not the ACC, is the biggest, best TV contract in history, and so it's all about advertising dollars. But the real question is, I mean, the games have gotten so out of control that what used to be like a 2-hour and 45-minute average game, maybe 3 hours. I mean, 4-hour games, 4.5-hour games is just ridiculous, right? But how much is it actually going to shorten it? According to this article, the clock has stopped every first down since 1968, but will keep running after all first downs in the first 28 minutes of each half. The clock will stop until the ball is ready for play after first downs inside the final 2 minutes of the second and fourth quarter, so not the first or third quarter. The change was made as college football leaders keep looking for ways to shorten the game as games routinely take over 3 hours to complete, according to the NCAA's Playing Rules Oversight Panel. The clock will remove fewer than 10 plays per game. So there's your answer. The clock change will remove fewer than 10 plays per game. So it's not going to make the game shorter. That's what they're saying. I don't know. How long does it take to run 10 plays? So the game's going to be what, 10? I mean, I'm talking about in real time, not game time, obviously. In real time, instead of being 3 hours and 45 minutes, it's going to be 3 hours and 35 minutes? What are we talking about, 10 minutes here? Let's say it's an average of a minute per play because they don't run the play clock out every time. So that's even being conservative. So what, a 10-minute difference? Come on, man. The NCAA is almost like YouTube. You know how YouTube is always fixing problems that don't exist or doing a bad job fixing them? This isn't a bash YouTube segment, by the way, but you know what I'm talking about. They're presented with a problem. The problem is that the games are going on too long and they're overlapping each other and they're causing all kinds of confusion in the TV market. They're losing the interest of a certain sector of the college football viewing fan base because they do take too long. And their solution to that is to change something that doesn't fix the problem. We all know what really would fix the problem. What has happened in the past 7 or 8 years that significantly dragged out the time of the games? We all know what it is. Constant reviews. I think targeting gets a lot of the blame for it, and it should. But, yeah, shit. If there's 3 targeting penalties called a game, which is probably pretty average, or at least 2, those take the longest. I swear they look at it for 10 minutes every time. So there's that. But it's not just the targeting. It's every play. It seems like I would like to know what the actual number is. How many official reviews, or quote unquote official reviews, are there in a college football game these days? And even if you don't want to eliminate reviews, which they're not going to, by the way, so they're not going to, but how you execute the review could save more time than what they're doing now, or in conjunction with what they're doing now. Having the referee have to run over to the sideline and stick his head inside of an iPad for 10 minutes to review a play is just stupid. It's stupid. You know, you've got a rules official that's watching the game. Generally, the rules official generally, even on the broadcast, will tell you what the right call is before that referee even runs his fat ass over to stick his head in that iPad. He's already got the call made before the guy even sees the play. So let him call it. All right, I'm done. I'm getting mad now. It's Friday. I don't want to be mad. NCAA they are useless. Completely useless. What's up? Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
What's up, Pete?
What's
ready
up?
For week 0?
I'm ready. I couldn't be any more ready.
I mean, it's almost like that Hall of Fame game they play at the beginning of the preseason, except it counts actual records.
Yeah, that's a pretty good comparison. Uh-oh, he dropped out. Uh-oh, he's back.
January, so you're going to want to see it just because it's football.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. I do think though first of all, there's no such thing as week 0. All right. That doesn't exist. That's what they call it, but it doesn't exist. The only reason they say that is because they don't want to add weeks onto the end of the season. They'd rather, leave the end of the season the same and just say there's a week 0. I mean, what's next? A fucking week -1? It's just silly, right? So if you're going to have a week 0, at least probably you should go out of your way to make some sort of marquee matchup. And there really isn't one this year.
Well, heck, in the first week of the season, they have this 1 point on Sunday and Monday that they call week 1.5.
Yeah, well, see, that's even dumber than week 0.
Like,
I mean, what are we doing?
Put it in Sunday or Monday, you might as well just keep it as week 1.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, because the week does start on Sunday. I don't know if people know that. Sunday's the first day of the week.
The only good matchup they put on week 0 in any year was, 2019, Miami and Florida?
Yeah, and they should
that
really
one actually turned out to be pretty good.
Yeah, and they should make an effort to do that every year, I think.
I hope Miami and Florida are playing next year and the year after. I hope they put both those games on.
And then, I guess, what do you think the best game week 0 is? Is it Southern Cal and San Jose State? Is it Navy and Hawaii? I mean, Navy and Notre Dame? Is it Hawaii and Vanderbilt? I don't know. But I would think that probably Southern Cal and San Jose State's probably the best one out of all of those, really, football wise. And nobody's going to see it because it's on the Pac-12 network.
I mean, San Jose State may have a case. San Jose State may have a case as best group of 5 team, but they're not going to beat USC.
No.
Although if they did, it would be really funny.
Well, it would be.
Listen, this wouldn't be the first time that USC has lost a game where they were a huge favorite. I think USC still holds the record.
Tulane.
No. I'm not even talking about that. USC still holds the record, if I'm not mistaken, for the largest upset. They were a 41.5-point favorite. This was probably like 15 years ago, and they lost to, I think it was Stanford.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't. This is Lincoln Riley's Southern Cal is not those teams. I wouldn't be surprised if Southern Cal scored 60 in this game. You know.
Well, you're right. Hey, from a certain point of view, sure. I mean, those teams actually, they had a mediocre offense, but they had a defense. So at least they were a complete football team.
Yeah.
The question is, do we see USC's defense in this game?
Well, that's what I was about to say. I said I wouldn't be surprised if they scored 60, but I wouldn't be surprised if they gave up 40. You know, so. But keeping on topic with the possible upset, like which team is most likely to get upset this weekend?
I'd say Notre Dame.
Yes, I'm hearing that a lot.
Notre Dame wouldn't surprise me. I'm not sold on the head coach yet. I'm not. Don't take this the wrong way. I do think Sam Hartman is talented. I think we're going to find out how much of it is that system at Wake Forest and how much of it is Sam.
Well, that's fair, except for even if Wake Forest's system and their receivers were, part of the reason for his success. John from Always Irish has it 100% correct. No matter which way you slice it, he's still a massive upgrade over the past 4 quarterbacks they've had.
Probably more than that.
Probably more than that, yeah. So, I don't know. I feel like I don't know. Maybe I have a little bit of bias because Clemson played against Sam Hartman so many times, and he played great against Clemson's defense. Who's
the receiver at Notre Dame that scares anybody?
Well, but even the average college football fan couldn't really name the Wake Forest receivers either. I mean, they had a couple of really good ones, don't get me wrong, but, I don't know.
Well, I mean, that's kind of been Notre Dame's Achilles heel for, a couple of decades now, has been their lack of talent with skill position guys.
Yeah, and
they're great running the ball, but
see, that's something that Sam Hartman did not have at Wake Forest. He didn't have a great offensive line. He'll have that now, which I think will help him. And they didn't have a very great running game either, and they'll have that now, which will also help them. So it's sort of like 6, 1/2 dozen the other. He might not have the receiver play he had at Wake Forest at Notre Dame this year, but he'll have a better offensive line and a better running game. So I don't know, and a better defense too.
Yeah, but I mean, you could make the same argument about Notre Dame last year that you can about FSU. I mean, who's their best win? The worst Clemson team since Dabo Swinney's taken over, probably.
Well, no, not since he's taken over. No, they had a losing season in 2010.
Florida State's best win last year was LSU.
Yeah, 4-loss LSU. Whee! And you brought up a point that I think applies to LSU too. And I'm not hoping this happens. I do not hope anybody gets injured. But anybody, honestly, what's Florida State going to do if Travis goes down?
Yeah. They better have a next man up and ready to go.
That's the problem with Mike Norvell's lack of recruiting.
But you could say that about almost every team. Like most teams have a huge drop off between the starter and the second guy. Most teams do, not all teams, but
that's like last year when we played Texas A&M last year, and Bryce Young wasn't there. Milbrow, you can tell, was not ready at all to go, and it almost cost us big time.
Well, and I pointed this out when that happened too. Nick Saban has gotten away from something that kept them good. Why was Tua ready to come in the second half of that national title game and beat Georgia? Because he played the second half of all those blowouts and actually ran the offense. He didn't have Milrow doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I feel like the year that Tua was there, they were blowing most people out, and so he was able to get a lot more playing time. Alabama wasn't blowing everybody out last year.
They still had plenty of games that were not within worry.
Yeah.
And when he did play, he was mostly a running quarterback.
And listen, any team that does this, if Clemson does it, it's a mistake. If Georgia does it, it's a mistake. Hell, my own team, if they're up by 3 touchdowns on somebody, I better see the second string quarterback in there.
Yeah, see, I give Dabo Swinney credit with that. He typically does give whatever his incoming freshman quarterback is significant playing time behind the veteran during the season. Now, some people say that's because they play in the ACC and they can afford to do that. Maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know, but Klubnik was up and down last year, but he did have he did have some good games when he played in them. He played terrible in the bowl game, but all of that experience I think helps him going into the Duke game this year.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just a lot of people say I'm a hater for what I say about Florida State, but I mean, okay, sure, you brought in some good transfers, but because you're not recruiting well, what are you going to do if you have a few key injuries, or if you have like a Miami situation last year where the injury bug is just all over the place?
Yeah, I don't know if there is anything you can do about that. But that's why you recruit. That's why you got 85 scholarships, And
that's why you take advantage of the transfer portal when you can.
And Alabama, I mean, they should not have any excuses as far as depth goes, because I heard somebody said on paper that they have the most talented team in America this year. So when you look at the last 4 recruiting classes and the star ratings and the player ratings and all that kind of shit, that they have the highest rating per player of any team.
Well, I don't think Florida State's in that class, though, is my point.
Yeah.
Like, there's probably, half a dozen teams that if a starter goes down, you're not catching any sympathy from most of the country because you're so loaded with talent, it's next man up. Florida State is not that, though.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree with you. Florida State, their first string starters can compete with anybody in the country, but I think you're right. If they start getting some injuries, then they'll be in a bad spot. But who said that?
The key to their success is Jordan Travis, so that's why I pointed him out specifically.
Yeah. The Nature Boy says, but what do we really know? But do we really know what we're getting from Hartman? Well, we should. I mean, we got
a huge sample size from Wake Forest.
Yeah, he's got 6,000 passing yards and 110 passing touchdowns. That's a lot.
That's like last year's.
I wasn't down in Hartman. It was just kind of a question mark, in my opinion.
Yeah. Always Irish made it through his show today without stroking out. Navy will cause more hair loss, though, for all of us. Yeah, that show he did last week was or either last week or earlier this week was amazing and fantastic. He's gonna have to get a new microphone. He's gonna blow that microphone out. Yeah, I know you weren't. But Nature Boy says he wasn't being serious. I know you weren't being serious, but ironically or unironically, however you look at it, there are people saying that. What's up, Vic? How you doing?
Oh, yeah, what's up?
Good morning to that, Vic.
Yeah, good morning. Yeah.
How excited are you? Are you gonna be able to sleep tonight?
Yeah, I'm really excited. Yeah, I think I'll be able to sleep tonight, but yeah, I am really excited. Yeah.
Well, if you have a problem sleeping, remember that rum that we gave you at the Slav Olympics?
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, just take a couple of shots of that, put you right out. You'll be good. Yeah. Beefeater, that's definitely something I want to do before the Notre Dame and Clemson game is do a show with John.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully you won't have to be doing a show from a casket this year. But
Dang, from a casket?
Casket!
I was about to ask you to play the soundbite.
Well. Jesus, life shouldn't be that stressful. If this is my show 2 weeks in, by week 10, I'm going to be doing the show from a casket.
He might not even make it 2 weeks. If they lose to Navy, God, talk about new sound bites.
yeah, or what if they lose to Central Michigan? Yeah.
Central Michigan.
Yeah, they also play. Yes,
I don't-
they play in place of, instead of Marshall this year they play. This year they play Central Michigan.
What's up, Roger Dodger? He says, fight on, Pete. Yeah, we were just talking about Southern Cal for a while. Let's look at Notre Dame's schedule. They got a tough schedule this year.
Yeah, fight on. Yeah.
And, well, I say tough schedule. I mean, they've got 3 teams on there that are preseason ranked top, 10. Yeah. They've got Southern Cal, Clemson, and Ohio State. All 3 of those are ranked at least in the top 10. 2 of them are in the top 5, right? Where's Southern Cal ranked?
Those preseason rankings really mean a lot.
Well, they don't mean anything, but you know what I mean. Still, even if you take the rankings, the preseason rankings away from those names, there's still 3 good teams. So,
Oh, sure.
yeah. And let's see. Now they get Southern Cal at home, so in South Bend. They've got to travel to Clemson, and they get Ohio State at home. So at least 2 of the 3 of those games they get to play at home. That's good. Other than that, though, well, they play Duke. Of course, everyone's high on Duke. I'm not as high as everybody else. I think the people are too high, not just high on Duke. They're too high when they say that. I mean, it's still Duke.
That's like all those people that are so high on Texas A&M this year.
Yeah, but you can almost, well, I agree with you because they are always talented and they always seem to find a way to fall on their face. But at least you can say, well, look at the players they have. So it's feasible that they're going to be good, and they have a new offensive coordinator, Petrino and all that. But Duke is still Duke.
Big question is how much control over the offense does Fisher give to Petrino? Does he give him the full reign, or does he take it away from him at some point?
Yeah,
because if Fisher takes it away from him at some point, Texas A&M back to the toilet.
Well,
listen, shit can go sideways when Bobby Petrino's got control of shit too. So
yeah, I would trust Petrino leading the offense more than I would trust Fisher at this point. But whenever they asked Fisher about that, he said, are you giving control of the offense, the play calling duties and all of that to Petrino? And he didn't really answer the question. He kind of sidestepped it, which to me sounds like he's not committed to doing that. Or maybe he's just not saying. I don't know, but
He's just not saying.
Well, he sort of said something like, I look forward to taking his advice, which to me doesn't sound like he's giving him control of anything.
It's all coach speak. I mean, I don't really know what he's going to do.
First of all, it's hard to understand what Jimbo Fisher's saying in the first place, so Who knows?
Well, have to look and see. I mean, if we see Bobby Petrino looking at a play card, then
Another one of the games that could be tough for Notre Dame. They got to play Pittsburgh, who I think is going to be pretty good in the ACC. But again, that game's a home game for Notre Dame. So most of their tough games are actually they get to play at home, which favors them.
Now, I don't know if you saw my super chat feed, but I had a hot take that Colorado and Florida are going to end the season with the same record.
I just saw it. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, hot take: Colorado and Florida end the season with the same record. What do you think that record will be?
3 or 4 wins.
I was gonna say 4-8, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'd be surprised if Colorado won 4 games.
I mean, don't get me wrong. That would be an accomplishment for Colorado, but I mean, if you just want to stack them up against each other, I do think Colorado's probably got better quarterback play. I would take Deion's kid over Graham Mertz.
Beefeater says, who's the ACC coach you would least want to see win a national championship? He says, I'll start Pat Narduzzi. Well, you already know where I'm going with this. I mean, does somebody want to tell him who my least favorite coach, not only in the ACC, but in all of college football is?
Dave Dorn.
Dave Dorn. But we don't have
to. I want to know how many people would answer that question with Mario Cristobal, just because the Miami fan base would be annoying as fuck.
Yeah, I don't know if he's been around long enough in the ACC for everyone to hate him yet. Unless you're a Florida fan or a Florida State fan. But I was thinking about this last night. I was gonna make a video on this too, but I'll discuss it now. Who's the most unpredictable team in the ACC this year? And to me, it's Miami. So I think that so they play Clemson this year again. They played twice in the past 3 years, and they're playing again this year. Both times Clemson blew them out. But that doesn't mean that when Clemson travels down to Miami this year, that's a predetermined end to that game as well as what we saw the last 2 times.
Both of the previous games been in Clemson?
Yes. Yeah, and I went to both of them. Yeah. So, I mean, I think Miami actually potentially has a chance to be pretty darn good this season. Now, whether or not they put it all together and make that happen, I don't know. But I can't think of a team in other words, they're a team that if you told me that they were going to go, let's fast forward to the end of the season, right? Let's look in our little glass ball and say, well, Miami finished 6-6 this year. I don't think anybody would be super surprised about that. But also, let's say you look ahead and you say they won 9 or 10 games. I don't think I'd be super surprised about that either. So it's a big swing there.
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities between A&M and Miami.
Right, yeah.
Both of them have the talent that they should be doing better than what they're doing.
Yeah, I agree. But if you compare that to all the other teams in the ACC, I can't think of another team like that.
Brett, I think Brett is requesting entry.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm sitting here looking at this Notre Dame schedule. Didn't see him there. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you.
What's up, big dog?
Just ready to finally come alive again after 10 years of off season.
Yeah, feels that way, doesn't it?
Feels like it.
Yeah.
Absolutely sick and tired of trying to drag myself to my computer to put together some kind of show that I really don't feel like doing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of people don't understand how much mental fortitude work it takes to continue to make content in the off season.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's why.
Look how ridiculous some of the content is.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, and don't get me wrong, those that are doing the content in the offseason do a great job. But man, I got to tell you, it is such a dad blame struggle. It's like, do I really want to make a video about a running back tearing a tendon? It's like,
No.
Yeah, I got you there.
I can pull the same video that I made last year, the year before, and the year before that about some running back or somebody on, tearing something and being out for the year.
Yeah, it's hard to get excited about that. It's really one of the reasons I started this show here, is because during the off season when there's really nothing to talk about, we can come on here and talk about nothing and everything's fine.
Yes. The YouTuber, Rick Sanchez says YouTuber life is hard. First of all, most of us YouTubers can't do this as a full-time gig.
No.
I mean, you could, but you would be applying for state aid.
Damn.
I mean, we all appreciate the support everybody gives us, and that's great. But I mean, you got to find a way to balance life and work and family, and then find time to do this. And like I said, I am so incredibly ready for actual, real content to me. What everybody else is doing is great, and it's real content. But for me, I can't really get all that excited. I'm so impressed by those of you that do it every day.
So which game are you looking forward to the most for week 0?
Yes.
All of them, anything.
I'm looking forward. I guess it'll be UTEP, and Jacksonville State. Yeah.
UTEP and Jacksonville State.
Yeah.
Why?
Because I just like UTEP, I guess.
Oh, you're just a UTEP fan.
Yeah, big two-teamer.
Right.
Well, I am a little bit curious as to how Jacksonville State is going to fare after Deion Sanders left.
Well, that's Jackson State, not Jacksonville State.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Jacksonville State is not too far from East Boca Community.
Yeah.
College, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, the Jacksonville State Gamecocks.
And the crazy thing is that they play South Carolina, so it's going to be Gamecock versus Gamecock at some point in the season.
Uh-oh, cock on cock crime?
Yes.
That's going to be a hard one to miss.
They already planted their flag in that Seminoles mouth at the 50-yard line. They're not afraid to do it.
Yeah, they've given some fits to some Power 5 teams over the years for sure.
I mean, I don't know. Probably the USC game, just to see.
Well, you see it though.
Situation playing.
You have the Pac-12 network.
I have YouTube TV, so I'll probably have it.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think YouTube TV is the Pac-12 network.
I don't know if Hulu. Let me look on my TV right now. Actually, I don't think Hulu has it.
Right.
I don't think Hulu has it. It may have to be in a certain area.
I'll tell you in a minute.
DirecTV's got the Longhorn network, so I should have the Pac-12 network. Jesus.
Yeah, the Pac-12 network is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, in more than 80 countries live on YouTube.
Let's see.
So there you
go. The Pac-12 network is available in 80 countries.
That's what it says.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's on Pac12.com's website.
It's available in 80.
How many countries the SEC network is available on?
80 countries, but not on Hulu, huh? That's something there.
Over 80 countries.
Speaking of the Pac-12, Pete.
Yeah.
I actually don't think a couple
135
of those teams,
countries.
I don't think a couple of those teams moving to the Mountain West or the AAC is necessarily. I don't think the long term is necessarily going to be a downgrade. I think one of those conferences may look to take the Pac-12's place as a Power 5 program.
Oh, you think that's what they're doing?
Yeah, they're doing.
That's a real possibility.
Well, the AAC has more playoff appearances in the last 6 years than the Pac-12 did.
Well, damn.
He's got a point.
Yep.
Well, if you talk to one of their fans, if you can find one, they all say the same thing. Well, we're so good we cannibalize ourselves every year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People at Utah, win the Pac-12. So
Meanwhile, most of their games can't sell enough tickets to cover the cost to open a concession stand.
I mean, Utah is the real villain in the Pac-12.
Yeah, no Pac-12 network.
They kept USC out of it last year.
Utah says that we can't go to the playoffs. Nobody can.
And they played spoiler, 2-3 years in a row?
I think Utah is one of those teams that doesn't get near enough credit for what they do with what they have.
Yeah, no Pac-12 network on Hulu, so I won't see it.
Yeah.
I think last year
you can watch some of the halftime stuff when I go live if you want.
I guarantee you can.
What network is Notre Dame Navy on?
I guarantee you can find the
Notre
game.
Dame
in its
Navy
entirety.
is on NBC.
Yeah.
Slim, I don't.
Okay, so
I
we'll
don't
easily
mean
be able to watch
over,
that.
Man, your mic is just really low, brother.
He's driving, I think.
Oh, yeah, I'm driving.
Yeah, I didn't want you to think I was talking over you on purpose. It's just you're really low, and then by the time I realize you're talking, it's like.
Well, I'm probably driving through a shit area too.
Yeah, it's possible. So which turn it back around on you, Pete. What game do you want to see the most?
Well, it was probably Southern Cal game, but Notre Dame game, and that's really just so I can see what Hartman looks like, and also the fact that it's in Ireland, I think is cool. You know,
And it is cool.
and then the Vanderbilt and Hawaii game is some reason very intriguing, even though I don't think it's going to be close. There's a lot of hype about Vanderbilt's team this year. Maybe not nationally, but for Vanderbilt, you know, like the expectations for what they normally their normal expectations
You
are
mean they might
high.
make a bowl game this year.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, so now don't forget about there's also two FCS games on. We got North Alabama and Mercer, and we got NC State SC State and Jackson State.
Yeah.
Does anybody want to point out the fact of how funny it is that last year Vanderbilt beat Kentucky and Florida? Or is that just me?
No, that's pretty funny.
Funny, yeah. Well, I
And
think
still couldn't make a bowl game.
Well, they'll probably beat Florida again this year.
I don't really think it's
Florida versus Vanderbilt may be a competition to see which SEC East team can reach bowl eligibility.
I mean, I don't know that Vanderbilt can reach bowl. I don't see it, but
What does their schedule look like?
well, the first two games is Hawaii and Alabama A&M. Okay,
So that's
then you
two
got Wake
wins.
Forest,
Yeah.
That's a loss.
and then UNLV. They'll probably
That's a
win.
win.
That could
Then
be
they
a
have
win.
Kentucky. Then they have Kentucky, Missouri, Florida.
They could beat Missouri and Florida.
Mizzou might be
That's
a win.
wishful thinking.
they could win one of those. Yeah.
They could win
Yeah.
two of those, but let's hear the rest.
Then you got.
I just want to talk for a
then it
second
gets-
about how Eli Drinkwitz is probably the head coach on that seat that nobody talks about.
Yeah. Well, then it gets a little bumpy. Then it goes Georgia, Ole Miss, Auburn, South Carolina, Tennessee.
Yeah, you're not winning any of those.
Now, but they could conceivably start 4-0.
Yeah, they could, and then
They're probably not beating Wake Forest.
I think they could beat South Carolina or
Yeah, I think that's what I have. I think I have Vandy.
I don't think they're going to beat South Carolina.
I'm not saying they're going to, but I think it's possible they do.
Yes.
I'm hearing South Carolina get a lot of hype out of folks, and I'm like, do people not remember how crap Spencer Rattler played for 10 games
Yeah.
last year?
Yeah.
Spencer Rattler's always good for like the last 3 games of the year.
I was gonna say, Slim, didn't you know he figured it out, man? He's got it figured out now. He'll be fine.
Yeah.
Well, he threw for 225 plus Georgia State. He threw for almost 400 yards against Arkansas. He threw for over he threw for 200 against Vandy, 400 plus against Tennessee, and then 360 against Clemson. and then threw for another 246 against Notre Dame. They lost that game, but that really wasn't on him. But I mean,
No.
he's got enough talent there. But they could theoretically lose to Vanderbilt. But
Yeah, I don't know. They could beat Auburn.
They
Could.
could beat Auburn.
They could beat.
Yes, but for 10 out of 12 games, Brett, Spencer Rattler had the worst QBR in the SEC.
well, in the last 50-something games, it has come out that Auburn is tied with Vanderbilt in record. So
Yeah.
All time. Right.
So they could beat Auburn. They could beat Florida. They could beat Missouri. I guess they could beat Kentucky. I don't know if they will. UNLV, Alabama A&M, Wake Forest,
Out.
Hawaii. So I could see them winning 6 games.
No. No, I had them 5-7, but yeah.
Yeah, somewhere around there. 5-7, 6-6. About right.
Yeah, I had them beating Kentucky and Wake Forest. So yeah.
They're not beating Wake Forest.
Yeah, I know. But
I mean, to go 7-5 would be a considerable improvement from 5-7.
yeah, no, yeah.
And Wake
Probably-
Forest playing at 11 a.m.
But you know.
I don't know why you're
That's a
so.
two-game swing.
I'm not so sure why you're so sure that they're not going to beat Wake Forest.
Yeah,
So I'm confident in Wake
it could
Forest coaching
happen.
staff and their quarterback.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, I mean, Wake Forest was not a bad team last year at all.
Yeah, they played Vandy last year at Vandy
They
and
were
beat the hell out
kind
of
of,
them.
they were mid last year, but yeah,
Wake Forest?
yeah, they were
Oh,
7-5. Yeah, they were
See,
7-5.
I think people spend too much time
Five is
looking at the record on paper and looking at the stats and just not seeing how the game played out. And I think that's how teams like South Carolina and Duke get hyped up in the offseason.
But no, it's how you finish the year. That's why South Carolina fans are acting like they're going to beat North Carolina by 40 this week.
Well, Sam Hartman transferred to Notre Dame.
I know, but Sam Hartman's like 4th in the line of a bunch of great quarterbacks who played at Wake Forest under Clawson.
Yeah. Well, Sam Hartman is also an interception machine.
Yeah.
He
and,
is,
also,
yeah.
and also don't forget about Jamie Newman. Yeah, y'all remember when he quit on us. So yeah.
Well, you actually have to start to be able to quit. So
Yeah.
Speaking of,
Sam Hartman knows how to find a corner to pick on, though.
yeah, he does.
Higgins is still trying to get over some of those bird injuries.
Speaking of South Carolina, North Carolina, I'm really looking forward to that. I'll be streaming that for the members and the Patreon members, 7:30 Saturday night. Well, I'll be streaming all the games on at 7. There's a couple of good games on at that time slot, but that's going to be a good one.
The games week 1 are kind of underwhelming, though.
What?
The games on Saturday, week 1, are kind of underwhelming.
There's a few good ones.
The best week 1 game happens on Sunday.
There's a couple of good noon games on Saturday.
I mean,
What?
Virginia, Tennessee is okay, but Tennessee's going to beat the hell out of them in the end.
why the hell are y'all playing on a Monday?
But we're basically an
There's
NFL
no
team.
NFL.
Yeah.
It's Labor
It's
Day.
Labor Day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's no NFL.
What a joke.
I'm not mad about it just because it's the only game on that day, and so it's a primetime game. So I'm not mad at it. I wish it were against somebody other than Duke, but hey, people.
My God.
Play the Blue Devils and
Yeah, I gotta wait for week 2 to get excited about anything when we play A&M.
Duke and Duke.
Not only that, it's in Duke too. So it's like,
Oh, you're not excited about playing Miami of Ohio?
Yeah, the Miami Bowl.
No, not particularly. No.
Isn't that a rivalry? I mean,
I don't think
Make
they've
us
ever
start
played
calling you
each
Miami
other.
of
So.
Florida.
rivalry. So who's the real Miami?
Who's the real Miami?
feels like they should. Or,
Who has the rights to the Miami name?
well, I mean, I think that Miami of Ohio was first. So
Oh, I mean, neither one of them rightfully have a claim because neither one of them are actually in a city called Miami.
Yeah, because isn't Miami, Florida, and Coral Gables?
Yeah,
Yeah, and Miami, Ohio is actually in Oxford, Ohio.
but they play in Miami though.
Miami of Ohio was founded in 1802. History of Miami, the city of Miami, Florida, was founded in 1896.
Ooh.
Yeah, but
Yeah, but the
I wonder how Miami of Ohio got its name.
University of Miami wasn't established until the 20s. They haven't been around that long.
Uh, 1925. So
Yep.
that would explain actually a lot. Whenever you guys became a team, you triggered the Great Depression. Thank you. And it has pretty much continued ever since at the University of Miami, with the exception of a few years.
A few years.
With the
trying
exception
to
of those
25.
titles.
yeah, it does explain a lot because when you pull up the Wikipedia and you look at the total wins and all that, like it's not very impressive, and that's why, because a lot of teams had, a 40-year head start on them.
Yep.
So, although University of South Carolina had a 40-year head start on you, and you still have better numbers. Think about that.
South Carolina fans love to act like there's some historic program when they're actually a worse football
Yeah,
program.
historically bad.
They're a worse football program than North Carolina, who's a basketball school.
Yeah. That's why when they pull the whole, we play in the SEC. Now nobody beats the SEC drum more than South Carolina, right?
It's only the bad
But
SEC
the problem
teams
is,
talking about the SEC.
they were terrible for many, many decades before they ever joined the SEC. So it just continued.
I think Tulane should start beating that SEC drum again. Wasn't they part of it?
Yeah.
But
What are South Carolina fans going to say when like half the country's in the SEC?
Well,
they'll still brag about being in the SEC.
Yeah. by the way, nothing wrong with bragging about being in the SEC if you've ever done anything in it, but they haven't.
Yeah.
Don't they have 0 SEC champions?
Yeah, 0.
That's right.
That's like all those programs that brag about being blue bloods.
That's right. And they have one. They've won the East one time. So.
Yeah,
So does anybody actually know where the term blue bloods comes from?
No.
I do. I've heard this story before.
For the TV.
I used to think it was because all the basketball blue bloods had the color blue, but I know it's not anymore.
No.
I think it has something to do with
I know
royalty.
it's because your blood's actually blue.
Yeah, it's taken from a Spanish term, sangre azul.
Mm-hmm.
And old Castilian families used to say that they had no Moorish descendants in their bloodlines. So, and then they would point to the blue bloods in their veins and their arms as proof.
Yeah.
So basically, what it means is you think you have a long bloodline of untainted
Yeah,
awesomeness.
they're not Moors. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. But now we know that those people just have varicose veins. Has nothing to do with their heritage.
Correct.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
So I got a question for you guys. Do you think if South Carolina was in the ACC right now, could they win the ACC?
This year?
yeah,
Well, they'd probably finish second. Not sure if they'd win it.
second or
They would-
third.
they
Why,
wouldn't
why
be
would
in the
you
top
say?
three.
Why would you say second?
They're not better.
Because Clemson would
yeah,
probably
please explain
would have
that one.
won.
They might not even be better than North
I mean,
Carolina.
they're probably
close.
not
We're
better
favored,
than.
actually.
I mean, they're not better than Clemson or Florida State. So I'd say they'd be probably third in the ACC. But
Oh
They're
boy.
not better than North Carolina. We'll
I
find
didn't
that
say-
out.
No, they would beat Florida State.
I don't know.
No, they would not.
That's why I said it would be interesting because
they're not better than Clemson. They're not better than Florida State. I agree with Luke. They're not better than North Carolina. They're not better than Pitt, and I don't think they're better than Miami either.
not better than Pitt.
I think they're definitely better than Miami.
I don't get what's
Well,
with
of
all
course you do,
yeah.
Brett.
What's
but
with all the
Trust me, I am not a South Carolina fan, my friend, at all.
what's with all the hype around Pitt? I mean, didn't they lose like half their starters on defense. So
Well, Pitt always has a good defense. You kind of just got to trust Narduzzi to have one at this point.
And also they lost
you really kind of
losing
do.
Bandicana and
Well, they found a good quarterback in Dracovic until he gets hurt in week 4.
Yeah, that's the problem. He can't stay. He can't stay on the field. That's the problem with him.
lost Bandicana
Well, two things.
and Jared Wayne.
Two things about it, Brett, are indisputable. Two things about it are indisputable. Well, actually, three. Miami has a better quarterback. Miami has a better roster overall, and Miami has a better head coach.
And Miami has a worse record.
Not really. They did last year, sure.
I would almost wager money that if Miami was in the SEC, they wouldn't make a bowl game half of the years they play.
Yeah.
Well, maybe in the last 10 years you say that, yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean in the future.
That's kind of a ridiculous statement.
Okay, so in the recent bowl games, right?
Listen, we're not Tennessee. See, that's the thing, and I haven't. I'm not picking on you, Brett. You're just the last one to say it. Like, Miami hasn't been as terrible as Tennessee. Tennessee has struggled to make a bowl game for the last 15 years.
You're
Miami's
right.
just struggled to win one.
Yeah, Miami has won one bowl game in their past 8 appearances.
Yes, they've won.
They
one
did get
since
shut out by Louisiana Tech
2006.
too. That was
I
funny.
mean, for God's sakes, you guys got shut out by Louisiana Tech.
Okay. That has zero to do with the point I made.
Yeah,
Great
didn't
job at deflecting,
your
but it
point-
has
your
zero to
point
do
was-
with the point I made.
What's your point?
his point was that Tennessee has struggled to make a bowl game, and Miami has been to bowl games. They just struggled to win one. That's what he said.
So Miami's not as bad as teams that are in the SEC East competing in it every year.
I mean, what I'm saying is, and this is beating the SEC drum, but I'm beating it for other teams that I'm not particularly a fan of. Is that if Miami was in the SEC, they would struggle worse than what Tennessee has.
So you're saying for the past 15 years, if Tennessee was in the ACC, they would have equivalently done better than Miami has in the last 15 years there.
Yes.
Yes.
That is a brain dead take.
A brain dead take.
Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard. It's almost like when people.
The ACC was good 10 years ago, but not anymore.
Yeah. I mean, they had a 3-year period there where they were really good. There was a few-year period there where they had a winning record against the SEC, and they play each other a lot, But
Deshaun Watson.
it was like whatever year it was, 13, 14, and 15, or 12, 13, and 14, something like that.
16.
So
15 and 16.
to speak to what he said about Tennessee struggling to make a bowl game, they went to a bowl game in 14, 15, 16, 19, 21, and 22, and they won all but one of those games.
Okay. I clearly said in my statement that I made that Miami struggled to win one.
Yeah.
Well, you also said that Tennessee struggles to go to one.
Yes.
So you guys have went every year. You guys have went every year. They missed 17 and 18, and that's it. In the same time period, they missed 17 and 18. I don't know that that's struggling to go to a bowl game.
Well, no, it's not the same time period I brought up because they've basically been down since pretty much the same year. Tennessee went down in 07. Miami went down really in 06.
Okay, so Tennessee went down in 07. They went to a bowl game in 07.
Yeah, they went down.
So did Miami in 06.
Yeah, they went.
Tennessee also went in 06. So Tennessee went 06, 07. They missed 08. They went 09. They went in 2010. Then there was a set there from 11, 12, and 13. They were out. Then they went 14, 15, 16. They missed 17 and 18. And went 19, 20, and 21 and 22. Not 20, but 19, 21, and 22.
Yeah, I remember that 2010 Tennessee Bowl appearance.
They were in a bowl game in 2020, but
So there's only 2 years in there Miami didn't make a bowl game. 07 and last year. That's it.
So here's what I'm saying, though, is that in the past 10 years, which if we go back from 22 to 20, we'll say 22 to 2012, right? You guys went to 8 bowl games. They went to 6.
There you go.
I mean, I am
Yeah,
pretty sure that given what an SEC opponent has to play through, if you were to take an SEC opponent or
Stop
ACC
it.
and put it in the SEC,
Play
they'd
through
be terrible.
what? Vanderbilt, Arkansas, Kentucky? Stop it.
Not only that,
If you
I'm
actually,
not
if you
buying the
actually go
horse
back and
shit.
look,
Hang on. I'm not buying the horse shit of that's a tough schedule because it's
Okay.
not.
so Tennessee last year played, and this was the rankings. Now we can argue about the teams actually being ranked or why they should be ranked, but Georgia was ranked number 3rd when Tennessee played them, which was actually the number 1 team in the country. They played Kentucky, ranked at number 19. They played Alabama at number 3. They played Tennessee at 25. They played Florida at 20. That's 6 teams right there that are ranked.
Florida at 20.
You go back to 2021. You go back to
Please
2021.
tell me
they
how
played
hard
Georgia
it is
ranked
to
at
get
number
through
1.
that terrible 6-6 Florida team.
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
wait a minute. Are you going to bring up that same number 8 ranked Arkansas team that finished the year 7-5? Woo,
That's
was a
that's
tough
why I
one
just
there.
said that's why I just said that we can argue about whether the team
8-4.
should have been ranked or not, but on the day they played them, they were ranked. In 2021, they played Georgia at number 1, Kentucky at 18, Alabama at number 4, Ole Miss at 13, and Florida at 11. That's 5 ranked teams. You go back to 2020, they played played Georgia ranked at number 3, Alabama number 2, Texas A&M at 5, Auburn at 23, Florida at number 6, and Texas A&M at number 5. That's 6 teams. Again,
You have to also look. You have to also look at the out of conference scheduling too. Like, who does Tennessee schedule out of conference that's scary? I'm seriously asking.
All right, in 2021,
Because-
in 2021 they scheduled Pitt,
Okay.
and then let's see, 2022, they 2022 Pitt again. That was a home and home, I think.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back to 2019. They played Florida ranked at number 9, Georgia ranked at number 3, Alabama ranked at number 1, and their away was, I guess, BYU, and they lost that in double overtime.
BYU is their
and then-
best non-con game.
And then skipped
That
out
year.
on the second half of that series with BYU, by the way.
Yeah.
2019 was the year they lost to Georgia
Now,
State.
I don't really
right?
hold non-cons against them because you don't really have any control of that. And I wish everybody would play better non-cons.
You do have control.
You do.
over
That's
non-con.
that's
the one
literally
thing
the
you
one
have
thing you
control
do have control over is your non-conference
Well,
schedule.
the team doesn't, is my point.
Yeah, they do.
They do.
Yeah, the
No,
two.
they really don't.
Yeah, the 2 teams agree and schedule each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, but my point is that's athletic directors that figure that shit out.
You don't think the coaches have input on that?
I think they ask them, and I think there's probably plenty of coaches that would rather play better non-con games, but a lot of
A lot
teams
of them
just
would
aren't
love to play
gonna
some
do it.
cupcakes at the beginning of the year.
Clemson
So
goes out of
last
their way
year-
to schedule big boys out of conference. It's always against an
So
SEC
last
team
year-
too.
Last year, Miami played number 9 ranked Clemson and number 24 ranked Texas A&M, which is an SEC team, which they lost to.
By 1 point.
Win or loss.
Yeah, I know. I got you.
Then they played number 1 ranked Alabama, this 2021 SEC team, which they lost. Then they played an 18 NC State and a 17 Pitt. Go back to 2020. They had a number 18 ranked Louisville and a number 17 ranked North Carolina, and they lost to the North Carolina team.
Can you share the score?
They
Bro?
played Clemson in 2020 as well. with their-
Okay, well, since you're once again, but you're
Then you
you're
played in
rattling-
19.
hang on. You're rattling off rankings like they matter at the time. Number one, the only rankings that really matter are the ones at the end of the year if you're going to try and rattle off rankings in this context. And number two, please defend Florida being in the top 15 last year. Since you want to
Like
use
I said,
rankings.
we can argue about whether or not the teams should have been ranked at the end of the year.
So what you're saying
The
is
fact
complete
is
bullshit.
that whenever
then.
you're playing ranked teams throughout the year, there's a reason why they're ranked where they're at. Their performance up until that point put them at that number. Now you can say maybe week one that shouldn't matter, but by the
Week
time
two
we're in
shouldn't
week
really either.
Yes, Florida should not have been top 15 after being unranked after beating Utah.
okay, fine. In 2019, you lost to number 8 ranked Florida, which shouldn't have been ranked, but it is an SEC opponent. So you lost to an unranked SEC opponent. And then your other ranked team was Virginia, and you won that game. And then there's nobody else on your schedule that's ranked.
We played Clemson in 2020. What are you talking about?
Then in 2018,
Oh, you said
you had
2019.
you had 2 teams on your schedule that were ranked. Pittsburgh at the end of the season, which you won that game. They were ranked number 24. At the beginning of the season, there was a 25 ranked LSU, which we're going to throw away the ranking because, it's the beginning of the season. That ranking shouldn't matter because we got to get to the end of the season. So an unranked LSU beat you at the beginning of 2018. It still stands that if you were to take this team based off of the current performance that we see against a ranked or unranked opponent in the SEC, they typically lose.
No. Because number one, it depends on what side you're in. Number two, it depends on who you're playing cross conference.
I'm not really quite sure what we're arguing at this point. We know Miami's not been good recently. That's why they've had 3 head coaches in the past 6 years or whatever it
This
is.
is just a mid-off. We're talking about Tennessee and Miami over the last 20 years.
That's the route he decided to go with it. So I just figured I'd argue it with him. Why not?
Well, my point is that, like I said, if you took Miami and you put them in the SEC, their record would be infinitely worse than it is now, and yet South Carolina still manages to have a decent number. So if you were to take South Carolina and put it in the ACC, I'm pretty sure they would beat Miami almost every year.
No, they wouldn't.
Almost every year is kind of pushing it. What is South Carolina's record against the ACC in the last 10 years, Pete? Don't you have the stat?
What is it?
I can find it.
South Carolina's record against the ACC recently?
Yeah, fine. Now,
It's not very good.
It's not, but the argument they make is, well, that's because we play Clemson every year. Well, yeah, but you lose most of the time, so that still counts. Clemson's still an ACC team. But I remember, what year was it? 2018, maybe? They lost to Virginia. They not only lost
to Carolina.
They got blown out by Virginia.
Yeah, which year and which team?
Well, they typically play, they play at least one ACC team every year, and then a lot of years they play 2, and then sometimes they play them in a bowl because a lot of times they go to the Belk Bowl, and that's an ACC SEC matchup.
Well, you've got what, 4 yearly ACC versus SEC? Because you've got Kentucky and Louisville, you've got Georgia and Georgia Tech, Clemson and South Carolina, and Florida and Florida.
Yeah, I think he's talking about South Carolina's record against the ACC because that's where this whole conversation started. Is what would South Carolina be able to win the ACC this year? But
South Carolina's record against the ACC, their overall record is, let me see here. Let me get this.
Well, they used to be in the ACC.
Wins over 120 losses.
So they're about 500. But a lot of those were when they were in the ACC. Probably.
Yeah, a lot of those were in the 60s.
Yeah.
Yes, we only got to count since 1992.
But even when they were in the ACC, they weren't a very good ACC team. But that was a long time ago.
They weren't. So if we do want to look at some interesting facts, though, is that they have lost to Clemson 43 times and only won 25. They're basically even with Duke, 15 and 16. They have played Florida State 1 time and lost that game. They played Georgia Tech twice and beat them. They played Maryland 19 times and won 7.
Well, their record against Clemson is 72, 42, and 43 now and 4.
Well, maybe this is a little bit dated. Somebody didn't update it, but
yeah,
they do hold the all-time undefeated against Miami.
You mean Brett's on here? Okay, and Georgia's 0 for all time against Holy Cross.
It's not.
No, I'm not. This has nothing to do with Georgia.
Not what we're talking about here. But
they have a winning. They have a winning record
like
against.
It actually means something. So
they have a winning record.
I can pull a team that you're 0 for against too.
I'm sure. Wake Forest, but we're not talking about Georgia. We're talking about South Carolina. So South Carolina has an all-time win record over Wake Forest, Virginia, North Carolina, Georgia Tech.
That's false.
I'm looking at it.
I'm looking at it too.
You've already spit one piece of fake news with their record against Clemson.
I just said that what I was looking at may be dated. Like I literally just said that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that North Carolina has a winning record against them in football.
There were 15 games over 500 against them.
Oh, spread
15 games over what?
Over 500. North Carolina has a 15-game lead
20
on them. all time.
Mis and disinformation. Golly.
Yeah, I don't know what you're looking at.
Can we get a fact checker here?
Hold on. They have a winning record against 4 ACC schools, and that's Wake Forest, Virginia, Virginia Tech, and NC State. They're 193, 236, and 22 against the current ACC.
Ooh, damn. That's not good.
Yeah, and actually, I know for a fact Miami isn't winless all time against South Carolina. South Carolina
Miami
just
is
won the
8,
last
6,
one.
and 2 against them.
Yeah.
Wonder why that says wrong.
Which is why whenever they say, well, if we were in the ACC like Clemson, we'd be in the playoff. But shut up. There's no precedence for that.
Who says that?
South Carolina fans all the time.
No.
All the time.
Because all you would be basically be doing is you would be swapping a Georgia for a Clemson. You're still going to get killed.
Yeah, but not that there's not years where they could compete to win the ACC. I mean, they could have done it last year. They beat the best team in the ACC last year. So maybe last year,
one of the best teams in the SEC.
Yeah, so maybe last year that was one of those years. But just in general, on an annual basis, no. There's no reason for anybody to believe that.
South Carolina only has a winning record against 3 SEC teams. That's tough.
Who is that? Vanderbilt,
Kentucky, and Mississippi State.
God.
That's because the rest of the guys are pretty damn good.
They have a losing record against Mizzou, Arkansas, and the rest of them are good. They're 1-8 against Texas A&M.
What is the record of South Carolina versus Florida?
They are 10-30.
That's the reason. That's the reason that they try to hire all those washed up Florida coaches.
They're 19-54 against Georgia.
Steve Spurrier, Will Muschamp.
What did you say the record was?
They're 19-54 against Georgia.
Oh no, I was talking about Florida versus South Carolina.
10-30.
10-30-3.
10-30-3.
Well, I'll give them credit for the Steve Spurrier hire. That one makes sense, but Muschamp was doo-doo at Florida. Why would you hire him?
Muschamp's actually a really solid coach, man. Just didn't work out.
I don't think he's a very good head coach.
Yeah.
I completely agree with you.
But even the Spurrier hire. Now, look, Steve Spurrier, he's got to be the best coach they've ever had. So I'm not taking anything away from that. But, I mean, it wasn't like – listen what they do. They see somebody have a little bit of success somewhere, and then they hire them there, which there's nothing wrong with that. The problem is they're old by then. You know what I mean? Like Lou Holtz.
Like Brent Venerables?
He's not old. He's not old. He'll be coaching for another 20 years. I mean,
50's the new 40.
Yeah.
You know?
50.
I mean, he's 52. I mean, he's not young, but he's not old either.
That's not old for a head football coach. 50.
I can't trash them for this.
Actually, I don't think that's old for just today's day and standard anyway.
No.
Like if I met somebody and they're like, I'm 52, I'd be like, yeah, I can see that. But I wouldn't be like, that dude's old.
But
Kirby's in his 50s too, isn't he?
I think your perspective on age changes when you age. So.
Plus,
I think part of that has to also do with the condition in which most people are today at age 52 versus where they were at 52 years of age
medicine.
25 years ago. Because I look at some of the pictures of my grandparents when they were like in their mid 50s, and I'm like, what the hell happened to y'all? Because if you look at somebody in their mid 50s now, they don't look nowhere near like that. Kirby's 47, by the way.
Oh, okay. So he's creeping up on 50.
Yeah, he's creeping up.
Modern medicine's a great thing. We're going to have people living to 130 in a few years.
he's already dyeing his hair, though. So.
Not
Hey,
yet.
can we agree that Lane Kiffin kind of fits in that Will Muschamp mold as well? Just not that great a head coach.
But he's done pretty well at Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Didn't he beat Alabama though 1 year?
No, that was Hugh Freeze.
That was Matt.
Oh yeah, that was Hugh Freeze. You're right.
I think that Lane Kiffin is a perfect fit for a place like Ole Miss. But I always say this, I wouldn't want him to be the coach at Clemson. You know,
he wouldn't be a great coach at a place like Alabama. He's great at Ole Miss though.
right?
Like I don't think Lane Kiffin is just a completely abysmal failure of a head coach in the way that Will Muschamp is, but I mean, is he 500 overall as a head coach if you include the NFL as well?
Why would you include the NFL in this?
I mean, head
I don't
coaching
know, but
experience,
I will.
head coaching experience.
It's a
I
completely
will say it
different
like
type
this,
of head
though.
coaching.
I cannot. I never would have picked Brian Kelly to go to LSU though.
Well, that's
He doesn't
just
seem like the
That's,
LSU
and that's
guy.
worked out pretty good for him.
well, we don't.
He's been there for a year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, look what he's done. I mean, goodness gracious.
He had a mediocre 8-4 or 4-loss season.
and lost to Florida State.
Well, that's true, but he also beat Alabama his first year playing them in conference, and not many people can hang their hat on that.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's arguing whether or not Brian
Isn't
Kelly's a
Kevin
good
Sumlin
coach or
good?
not
Is
because
Kevin Sumlin a great coach?
Like, I think Brian Kelly's a good coach. He's just kind of
It is a
what's
weird
the
fit.
comparable?
It's a
He's-
Family man.
family man.
Family.
I mean, up to this point in his career, he's kind of Mark Richt.
Basically.
Yeah, that's a good comparison.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, he's got to get over that hump.
You know, he doesn't have any roots in Louisiana. He doesn't have any roots in the South, as far as I know. And then he just pops on to the scene at LSU and starts doing pretty well.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, like, isn't he originally from Boston or something like that?
He's always coached.
somewhere.
Coached in the northern part.
I
of
thought he
the
was like from
West.
Ohio.
He might be.
He started at Cincinnati and then went to Notre Dame. So
Yeah. Well, he's the winningest coach in the history of Notre Dame football, but he never won a game that was meaningful.
Well, I've only seen one team have a worse record against ranked teams than Notre Dame, and it's Tennessee. Tennessee was like
From
24-0
Massachusetts.
against their last ranked opponents. It was ridiculous in the top 10.
Another stat where Miami beats out Tennessee.
He was
the heck
born
is
in
Assumption
Everett,
University?
Massachusetts. He was born in Everett, Massachusetts.
I wasn't too far off.
There you
Oh,
go.
you're pretty close. I mean, Boston. I wonder how far Boston is from Everett. I'm going to look that up.
Boston.
Assumption University sounds like one of those fake online
But
colleges.
everything's
Yeah.
well, I mean, everything's close to each other in Massachusetts, so.
That's also facts.
Yeah. I mean, it could be
In
on the other
Worcester.
side of the state, but it's only 9
23
miles away.
minutes, dude. It's 6.1 miles.
So
Oh,
basically
Boston.
Boston.
That's freaking Boston. Maybe they should hire you as head coach. So,
who?
for Miami.
They don't want those problems.
It could be much worse,
himself
man. It
fired
could be
like
much
the first
worse.
3 press conferences.
I mean, I think Cristobal's going to end up doing fine, and that's where I tend to agree with Lou about, they give these coaches these big, long contracts too soon. I think that's exactly what Miami needed to do was give somebody.
I agree because it's a blessing in disguise because now they can't afford to fire them because they like to pull the trigger on their coaches too soon.
Now they'll have to keep it.
They have to keep them, which is what they need.
Trust process.
They need
I'm
some.
so excited for Miami to lose a game in like the first 4 weeks of the season and see all their fan base wanting him fired.
He's not getting fired.
He's not
he's not
going
getting
to, but their fan base.
And I tell you what, if Florida, as much as I gripe about 6 head coaches in 18 years, Florida's trying to beat us. They're on number 5 in a decade.
Well, I flat out said they never got rid of McElwain.
McElwain.
Yeah, that was silly.
They did fire him.
The man won the SEC East like 3 or 4 years in a row, and then they fired him. I'm like, what are y'all doing?
Yeah.
Two.
He was there 3 years. He won it 2 out of 3.
Yeah, 2 out of 3.
Yeah, it was something ridiculous like that.
Well, he won it 2 years in a row, I think, and then didn't win it, and they fired him for it.
Yeah, and that year he went 8-5 or something. It's like
No,
Florida's begging for an 8-5 season.
he went 5-7.
Oh, was it 5-7?
Yeah, last year was 4. It was 4-7. Yeah, they did have one of their
Sorry,
cupcakes.
that's
Was-
more of that disinformation there.
A
And
hurricane.
Florida's issue is their coach has one bad year, then they fire him immediately. no matter what they've done.
Well, they ain't making new ones, so better be careful who you fire now.
One might get fired. I mean, okay, that's bad luck. I mean, you couldn't predict that, Mark Richt's going to get Parkinson's when you hired him.
So you know that whenever they hired Mario Cristobal, they had to buy out the $9 million payment. Like the Hurricanes had to pay the Ducks for like $9 million just to get him.
He had to buy out his contract.
Yeah, then they gave him a massive contract.
Same thing.
$80
They
million.
did the same thing for Manny Diaz because he had got hired as Temple's head coach.
Oh yeah, for like a
And they
day.
bought out that paid like $4 million.
I can't help but wonder what kind of stadium y'all could have built with all that money.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Coach probably more important than the stadium.
Still really
Not
don't
at this
care. To be
point.
perfectly honest with you.
I mean, at least if you're gonna go watch your game lose, you can do it in style.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing it in more style than pretty much everybody else in the country.
Yeah, so should Miami have let Manny go to Temple and hired someone else?
I believe so. Yeah, I said Manny was a mistake when he was hired, but he was also a mistake when he was fired. Because I
They
don't
did
want a
fire
first
Manny
time.
really early.
Yeah, I don't want if you're going to give me the power to do it, I'm not hiring a guy that's never been a head coach to be my head coach. And nothing against Dabo or really even against Manny. It is what it is. But if you are going to hire him at that point, well, number one, you got to give him the time to learn how to be a fucking head coach.
Well,
And then get to
some of the best coaches in college football weren't head coaches at the current job they have. I mean, Kirby Smart, Dabo Swinney, Lincoln Riley. Who am I missing here?
But they gave Dabo the time.
Well, now Lincoln Riley was a head coach when he got hired.
Right, but of course those teams had,
Yeah, I mean when he was at Oklahoma. Yeah.
good program.
But I mean,
Right.
every head coach is a coordinator or
Not
something.
to put too fine of a point on it, but I mean, Mario was only a head coach for Oregon for a couple of years, and one of those was a COVID year.
Yeah, but he was also at
Was it
at
FIU?
Yeah, he was at FIU before then.
They were a dumpster fire when he was at FIU, right?
They were 0-12 when he took over.
Yeah,
mean,
that's terrible.
He got him to a bowl game, so I'm not going to knock the job he did.
Now, what I will point out is that Mario Cristobal, his overall record is like 67-67, but
That's because of
his
FIU.
first season at FIU, they lost their first 11 games.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's fair to hold that record, like over his head and say, "Oh, he's barely break even." Well, I think you get some credit there for trying to take that monstrosity and turn it into something, credible, which he did.
I agree with you. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Harlan Harris, for the super chat. It says, looking forward to Florida State Clemson bet, Pete. Question, how big do you think the Mason Smith news is for Florida State versus the LSU game? Well, I don't really know how big the news is, but based on the reaction that the LSU fan base is having to it, saying it's not that big of a deal, I tend to believe that it is. So
I do have to say something about that.
I mean, isn't that kind of like the standard answer, though? It's just, it ain't that big a deal.
Right.
What I think is jacked up is that they were going to try and spin it that it was just an injury.
Yeah.
And they got called.
It's not injury, it's a suspension. But
I wish the NCAA would be consistent about what they punish people for. Because, like, the players that got ruled ineligible because of the transfer rule aren't grandfathered in because of the old rule. But Mason Smith is getting suspended because he broke an old rule that's not being enforced anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you hear?
Yeah, I think it's
Florida,
absolutely ridiculous.
that's kind of
the head coach of Florida A&M suspended his whole team for the first game.
He didn't suspend him for the first game. He shut down football operations for like a week. They're going again.
The news story I read on YouTube or listened to said that he suspended the team for the first game.
He didn't because they're playing the first game.
Yeah, you gotta have a team to play a game.
Yeah.
whole team. Yeah.
Maybe he threatened them.
Maybe.
He canceled operations for like a week during the summer because they filmed.
I could see the administration. I could see him saying he's going to do it, and the administration saying, "No, you're not."
Well, that's like Florida A&M's biggest game every year because it's like a Sunday afternoon on ESPN against Jackson State. So there's no shot they're canceling that game.
This right here, see what we're doing right here. This is exactly what I love about college football season. It's like we can throw all these what ifs and hypotheticals around and whatever because there's going to be some meaning to it here, in a few days.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's like because if we were sitting here talking about New Mexico State and somebody being suspended or whatever in like March, nobody would care. I wouldn't care.
I wouldn't either.
But now we're like, we got this game coming up. This player can't play. The university's screwing up, and then you got this coach over here being a jerk or whatever. And that's to me, that's fun.
Yeah, the NCAA still hasn't made a decision on one of our best receivers transfer waiver, and we're a week away from the first game.
They're waiting on the money to come through or not come through before they decide what kind of punishment they're going to hand out.
Yeah,
I swear to God, that's what I believe, dude.
Speaking of waiting on decisions, there's a group that has given the Washington Commanders an ultimatum that they want the name changed back to the Redskins.
Oh, I saw that. It's like the indigenous people of Washington.
Oh, no.
No, it's the Native American Guardian Association.
Wants the Redskins back.
They want
because they're saying.
I'm going to go ahead and say it's not going to happen.
I can
know,
guarantee
because
it's not
this is
going to
an
happen.
indigenous minority group.
I mean, he's got a point.
I'm not. First of all, I think it was silly that they changed it in the first place. I just don't see a way that it's going to get changed back.
Well, it's new ownership now, so that's why they're coming out about it now.
Well,
so the leader of their group, which he is Native American, he says the reason we're coming forward now is there is new ownership, which therefore means new opportunity. The name was taken away under false pretense and a lot of inaccuracies claiming racism and whatnot. He said the term Redskin is actually a status symbol of a warrior, nothing else. It has nothing to do with ethnicity. It's about warriors who are allowed to participate in the blood moon ceremony and paint their skin red for battle. Our fight song even says braves on the warpath. So he's got a point. He's basically saying that because they took that away from him, it's racism because they took it away.
I said at the time when it went away, there wasn't any Indians bitching about it. It was a bunch of white folks.
Yeah.
guys, I just realized what time it is. I have to go pick up my son. I was supposed to be out the door 5 minutes ago. So.
Is he heavy?
Yeah. No, he's not heavy. No.
All right.
No, I just drag him.
kind of like the players in Miami.
Yeah.
Hey, I just got one question for you, Slim. Slim.
Yes.
Bye.
That's not a question.
Yeah.
That isn't a question.
That's a statement.
All that build up for nothing. Jesus.
All right. Thanks, Luke. We'll see you soon. Yeah. Him. Vic, you what you got going on? You got your show tonight, 6 o'clock?
Yeah.
All right. The Vic 2 production show, 6 o'clock tonight. I'm sure it'll be amazing and fantastic. Everyone go check it out. All right. See you later, Vic.
Okay. Bye, Pete.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, Slim. Thanks for coming on, buddy.
Sure. A pleasure as always.
All right, man. Have a good one. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining me this afternoon. Of course, tonight, 10 p.m., the college football call-in show. We finally have some real games to talk about on there. And probably some other shenanigans, too, if every other call-in show I've ever done is a good barometer of what to expect. And then, of course, tomorrow, football, right here on the main part of the channel, Navy and Notre Dame at 2:30. I'll probably go live, 2:15, something like that. And then for the members and or Patreon members tomorrow night I think it's at 7:30, Vanderbilt and Hawaii. So look forward to seeing you all there. All right, everybody, have a great Friday. I'll see you tonight.